Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today for the FM Balancing Act, turning competing demands into strategic opportunities, presented by Sharon Porter and Tasha Howland from AQ Partners, and brought to you by IFMA's Corporate Facilities Council. Please be aware that this webinar is being recorded and you are muted to prevent background noise during the presentation. If you have any questions during the webinar, please type them in the questions box, and if time permits, Sharon and Tasha will answer your questions at the end of our presentation. I now turn you over to the CFC's Programs Committee Chair, Dexter Barrow.
Good morning, everyone, and how are you today? Thank you so much for joining our CFC monthly Wednesday webinar series, which is a great way to get the month started. Like to take a moment to recognize that the CFC Council won Council of the Year this year. So big hand to all those who helped to make the council so great this year. Also want to give a big shout out to Jose Diaz for receiving the Emerging Professional of the Year award, which is much deserved. We'd also like to take a moment to thank our sponsors, SenseFix, eStructurer, First OnSite, Empire Office, and Tersano, who help us to bring this great content to you month after month. And we'd also like to give a big shout out to Linda Bisetsky and Wayne Weitzel for being champions of the CFC. And now, without further ado, I'd like to introduce the AQ Partners, founded by Tasha Howland and Sharon Porter. This firm was built on one powerful belief: accountability is the ultimate game changer. Sharon and Tasha help professionals and organizations cut through the noise, stay focused, and actually move from goals to results. With their proven framework, AQ Partners bring clarity and perspective and push that turn intention into measurable success. Whether it's driving performance in the boardroom or fueling personal growth, AQ Partners is all about building trust, sustaining momentum, and delivering lasting impact. So I asked the AQ Partners to share a couple of things with me that no one would know about them. And so one of them knows how to ballroom dance. I'll let them tell you which one of them is the ballroom dancer. One of them has never broken any bones. And one of them has ridden a 100-mile bike ride. So nothing that I would ever attempt to do. And was also a native of New Jersey. So I will let them go on and tell you which one is which as they go through their content today. So thank you for joining us, ladies. Good luck.
Thank you, Dexter.
Thank you, Dexter. We appreciate it. I'm Sharon Porter, and thank you for joining us. We're going to clarify just a little bit of that in our intro. We attempted to do a two truths and a lie, right? So just to kind of get to know Tasha and I, so we're just not two talking heads. One of us learned how to, what was it, Tasha? What's your two truths and a lie?
Ballroom dance in Iraq.
Mm-hmm.
I met my husband online,
Mm-hmm.
and I've never broken any bones. So you're supposed to guess which one of those is truth and which one is a lie.
And so looking at Tasha, I happen to know her. Dexter, I'm going to ask you, Dexter, what do you believe it is?
I would say she's a ballroom dancer.
There's two truths and a lie. You have to pick the lie.
Oh, I have to pick the lie. You've never broken any bones.
No, that's true. The lie is that I met my husband online. We actually met in person in Baltimore.
Yes,
And
she
Sharon,
actually
how
learned
about
to.
you?
Yeah. So for me, two truths and a lie. Born in New Jersey, voted class clown in high school, rode a 100-mile bike ride.
Dexter, which one is the lie?
What a 100-mile bike ride.
Actually, I didn't. I kind of gave up 50 miles in, but just to get us We wanted for you all just kind of get to know our personalities a bit. We're going to spend the next hour with you all talking about something very important, right? What you all do is extremely important to the buildings that we work in, to keeping our employees safe, to keeping our missions going forward. So shout out to you all, often the unsung heroes. We have a poll question. Kylie, if you wouldn't mind dropping the first poll question. We want to kind of get a sense of who's in the room, what you're feeling, and we want to make sure we're talking to the current concerns that you might have.
Yeah, so how well do you currently balance today's urgent facility fires with tomorrow's long-term improvements? You have to scroll down a little bit. There's 5 options. Are you always in emergency mode? Are you mostly reactive? Do you have some balance? Are you really proactive? Or are you just a strategic facilities management guru? Like you've got this on lock?
We'll give you a second. Drop your answers in.
I see it moving around.
How do we look?
Okay, Kylie, can we see the results? All right, it looks like we've got 30, 30, 30, right? We've got some people that are mostly reactive, some people that have a lot of balance, and then about 30% of the group is proactive. So.
Oh, very good.
Yeah.
So we didn't have many in the constant emergency mode. Very good.
No. Yeah, very good.
Okay. But let's have a bit of a reality check, right? Because what we're talking about today is how we're balancing it all. And as these changes, I mean, listen, COVID was huge for all of you who were working during COVID. And again, the unsung heroes you guys are, and how you kept those buildings alive, because those things, and Dexter and I have been friends for many years, and he would always tell me a building is a living, breathing thing, and you have to take care of it. And so what's important for you all and what you're doing every single day is you're balancing your urgent needs versus your future needs. So let's just talk about your daily grind, right? You probably come in the office with a plan to spend your day, how you're going to spend your day. Maybe you're going to go over some budgets. Maybe you're going to get to that staff meeting, but then emergency starts happening, right? And the day that you thought you were going to have doesn't go. And maybe that happens over or multiple times. Maybe that happens out of 1 month, maybe 10 days out of 1 month. That's a lot of time. So what does that lead to? Hidden costs. So while you're out there fighting fires, you're missing opportunities to be strategic. You're missing the opportunity to be able to be a leader to your team because you're often in constant short-term reaction mode. All right, so what does that lead to? That leads to the leadership gap. You're seen as a cost center to your management, to your bosses, and not as a strategic partner. So that is the thing that we're all trying to avoid, right? Here and today, we're going to change that narrative. And here's something to consider from an accountability coach perspective. Tasha and I are accountability coaches, is that we want you to be mindful with how you're leading unintentionally and you're rewarding firefighters, right? Always being firefighters, always, and you're giving them the high praise. But there's praise to be given for those who are also consistently with the long-term solutions. So always want you guys to be mindful of that. All right, now we want to give an example of something that might happen in your day. Now, listen, admittedly, you all are the professionals. Okay, I'm going to give you an example. Show me some grace. Don't get upset if I say something that may sound like, something a 5th grader would say. You guys are the professionals, but we want to kind of give a scenario that we think many of you might be familiar with.
Well, what we realized in preparation for this, Sharon, is that we're all facilities managers in some way, right? We have homes, and so we have to manage these things and be smart about the things that happen in our living and breathing building. Yeah.
Absolutely. So have a little case study. There's a university facilities team. They spend most of their time responding to student and faculty complaints. Broken door locks, flickering lights, temperature swings in the classrooms. But they pride themselves on their response, right? They're there, quick, lickety split. But they never had the time to step back and look at why these issues kept happening. Can anyone on this call relate to that? So here's what happens. When we're in constant response mode, what happens is HVAC filters weren't being replaced on a schedule because staff were always tied up with the hot thing that was going on at the moment. So that led to more breakdowns and higher energy bills. The university was not happy with that, right? Who's going to be happy with that? As Tasha said, in my house, and I see those bills going up, yeah, I got a problem immediately. So what else was going on? Lighting systems were being patched over instead of being upgraded to LED lights. And the campus kept paying inflated utility costs because of things not being planned for or upgraded because we were in constant hot room mode. And then what happens? Staff morale drops. No one can stay in permanent crisis mode. It's exhaustive, it burns you out, and you end up having turnover on your team. So now let's talk about the real impact of what this does in this scenario. Operating costs rose year after year. Preventable breakdowns caused classroom disruptions that angered faculty and students. How many of you are familiar with that? You start hearing the grumbling and people start saying, why can't these guys get this together? There's always a problem. How many of y'all are familiar with that? And then leadership saw the facilities team as reactive firefighters and not as strategic partners. That's not where you want to be. Here's the lesson. By taking stock in long and short-term fixes, they really cost themselves a lot in brand equity and servicing their building. But when they got out of it, they were able to shift and get into a preventive maintenance mode, right? And schedules were made, energy upgrades were put in place, costs went down, complaints went down, and leadership finally saw this facilities team as a partner in the long-term mission. That's where we want everyone to be.
Yeah, so that example really makes it clear that quick fixes really just keep us busy, but they don't move us forward. So we wanted to give you something practical to use. The real challenge is choosing what deserves our time and energy every day. And so that's where the Eisenhower matrix comes in. So what you see on your screen, it's a quick little quadrant. It comes in very handy. It's a straightforward tool that helps you really break through the noise and focus on what matters most. The challenge is probably in your profession, as in, most professions, everything can feel urgent, right? The danger is if we spend too much time just focusing on the crises, we never make time and space for the things that will prevent the crises in the first place, right? So let's just look at each quadrant. The top right, the top left is do it now. Those things that are urgent and important. Safety, emergency, system failures, the stuff that you have to take care of as soon as it happens, right? They're going to go into that list that you have to do it now. And this is something that you can do as you start to plan your day and you plan your week, right? You'll look at these things and say, yep, I have to do that right now. The second quadrant, if we go to the right, is schedule it, right? These are things that are important, but they're not necessarily urgent. They're not going to make a difference if you don't do it today, right? But in the long run, it will make a difference if you don't eventually get to it. So there are things that can be scheduled that should be scheduled. Strategic planning, right? We're talking about being good managers. Strategic planning is something that you have to build into your time, into your day to do. The next quadrant is things that you can delegate. They could be urgent, but they're not important, right? Non-critical repairs. Those are things that you as the manager don't have to do. You can delegate that. More administrative tasks, those, they have to be done, but you can delegate it. And the last quadrant is eliminate. These are things that are time wasters. Just because you're invited to a meeting doesn't mean you have to go, right? We really need to look at our time and protect our time to ensure that we're making the best use of our time. Most successful leaders spend 20% of their time in the schedule, right? Those things are important but not urgent. And it's something that's critical in my life, right? As a leader, I have to make time to think, right? To innovate, to be creative. And so for me, it's Thursday mornings for 2 hours. I don't take meetings on Thursday mornings. There is a block on my calendar that my team and people that I work with respect, right? Then that is my time. It is marked deep work and it's set aside, right? So that I can take those things that I've put into that quadrant, maybe Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and I have time to focus on them. It's a game changer, right? I would take a picture of this screen really quickly, just grab your phones and screenshot it. Get the Eisenhower matrix, put it up on your screen before you start your day, just as a reminder to say, yeah, let me try this, right? Let's put it into action. Let's just try it out. So I'm going to just go over a couple of scenarios and you see like which quadrant you think it might fit in. So the first scenario is the HVAC unit in the lobby stops working on like one of the hottest days of the year. We don't have the chat function, but think about it. Like which quadrant would that fit in? If you showed up at work, is that something that is urgent or is something that you can schedule for later? Yeah, that's pretty urgent, right? We don't want to have any safety issues or anything else that might go at risk because of high heat. So that's something that is urgent and you have to put it in the do it now box. Second scenario, a vendor is asking you to approve a contract. It expires next month. How urgent is that? Is that something that you can schedule? Is that something that you can potentially delegate? Or must it be done right now? Typically, that's going to be in the schedule. I will, during my deep work time, I will look at all the contract renewals and make sure that I'm on top of them. Or I can delegate that to someone on my team who can be mindful of all the contract renewals that are coming up, right? Scenario 3, a board member requests a same-day tour of the facility. Now, we all have board members and leadership and those people that are important to our business. It is not urgent for me today, but it is important that that person is taken care of. So it could be something that you could delegate to someone else on your team. But that one's also, kind of, you have to determine who it is. If they're asking for you by name, obviously it's a do it now. And then there's some other things on your schedule that would be shifted. But if it's, something that you can delegate, that might go into the delegate box. And then scenario 4, drafting the annual capital improvement plan. This is the strategic planning that I spoke about on the previous slide. Where does this go? This is schedule, right? This is the thing that you do during the deep work time that you have allotted on your calendar. It's not necessarily screaming for your attention today, but it is highly important. And this is the kind of, schedule work that often gets squeezed out by the day-to-day. So it's really important to have that time block on your calendar and really honor it so that you are able to get to these type of activities. Last one, a water leak. It's reported in the main stairwell. Overwhelmingly, do it right now. Water leaks are immediate safety damages, immediate safety concerns, and can damage things. Growing up, my mom, and as an adult, right, we got our first house, and my mom was like, water is a homeowner's worst enemy. And so we all know that. So a lot of things can fall into it has to be done right now, but 20% of your time really should be in that schedule it quadrant. And accountability is just really making sure that you don't allow the day-to-day activities to squeeze out the time that you have allotted for your scheduled activities. So protect the time for capital planning.
And I just want to add just one thing here is a simple thing that Tasha and I always say, everything urgent isn't important. And so sometimes you really just have to look at whatever's coming to you and you have to ask yourself and you remind yourself, everything important, everything urgent is not important.
Agreed. So let's look at innovation through possibility thinking. What does that really mean? Most of us know what it feels like. We've been talking about being in fight or fighting mode for a little bit, reacting to breakdowns, chasing emergencies, but we can't get stuck in the trap of working in only the urgent. So we have to think about um, exploring what could be rather than what can't be. And this shift will open up three big things for you as managers. So, Sharon mentioned this before, it's going to move you from being a cost center to a value creator. So, possibility thinking reframes that work that you're doing to be more valuable when we explore what's possible. So, when you talk about things like energy saving through retrofits or smarter workspaces or a new technology, things that can reduce cost and increase efficiency, these are things that come to you and that you're able to really flesh out during that protected time block for planning, right? And so you need that time to have that possibility thinking, that innovative thinking. The second thing it does is it will build resilience. Resilience is what keeps your team and you strong. So if you handle the what if before it happens, you're not scrambling when things happen, right? We are currently in a government shutdown. We knew that it was coming, right? We knew that there was a possibility that it was coming. And so planning ahead for that government shutdown keeps us from having to scramble today. Um, I work with teams and we do a lot of risk mitigation, right? So looking at if you ask for $2 million for your budget, but you only get 1.5, what kind of plans can you have in place so that you're not scrambling when you don't get everything that you've asked for? And so just building that resilience on knowing how to react in situations. Third thing it does is when you have this possibility thinking or innovative thinking or thinking about what could be, it elevates your team's perception, both internally and externally. So, internally, when you start to think more creatively, your team is also going to think more creatively. You create that space for innovation and it boosts team morale. If they feel like they can come to you with creative ideas, and they'll take more pride in their work if they're vested in it, right?
Yeah.
Externally, it shows stakeholders that we aren't just fixing problems, that we are strategic partners that bring ideas to the table. And so this shift in perception of facilities management is helpful. So think about one small innovation or something creative that you've wanted to do in your business, but you've put it off just because you've been in firefighting mode. What's one thing that you'd really like to implement? And just hold on to it. Jot it down. We're going to come back to it a little bit later.
All right, let's talk about streamlining decisions and eliminating bottlenecks. Now, nobody on this call is a bottleneck. I know it. I feel it. I can't see all your faces, but I know it. So we're going to talk about our colleagues who are. And if you've ever worked with that person who's a bottleneck, I'm going to talk about my own personal experience. I worked with someone who was an executive, a higher up, and listen, it was simply her way to get into all the details. And we don't think that's an issue. Yeah, and maybe you think it only impacts me. Because she got into all the details all the time. She's brilliant, brilliant, brilliant person. It dragged everything out. timelines were being missed. And because timelines were being missed, because there were lots of details, that was a domino effect. And over time, it impacted multiple departments. We don't want to be that. We don't want anyone we know to be that. And so this, what we're going to go over, is for not you, because you are not the bottleneck, but it is for your friends. It's for your friends who are the bottleneck. So let's talk about how we can make sure that we are not drowning in details and holding the process up. First and foremost, you should set a clear criteria up front of what makes a good decision. You don't want to wait till you're in the heat of the moment. Tasha mentioned today is a government shutdown here in the United States. I'd like to hope that if anyone who's in a leadership position has been watching the news, and we knew that this was a possibility, and I hope you all have been planning, or anyone, because this impacts lots of organizations throughout the country and throughout the world. We hope you've been thinking about it. What does that mean? And you're going to have to make decisions very differently today than you did yesterday. So right now, today, you should be thinking about what makes a good decision. So for example, you're going to look at what's the cost threshold. You're going to consider maybe the safety risk, maybe the compliance requirement, the impact on the occupants, and the time it's going to take to resolve the issue. So create that short checklist so every decision can be weighed quickly against the same standards. Then what I want you to do is use a simple decision tree. Map out common if-then scenarios. Tasha and I in our business, we do this often with our clients. We work with people who are in risk management to cybersecurity, and we call it the pivot. You got to be prepared for the pivot because it never goes exactly the way you expect it. If we consider what the stock market looks like, even if a stock goes up all the way up for the last 10 years, there were times it dipped. You got to be prepared for things to change. What is the if then? Plan it out before it happens in your decision tree. So for example, if the HVAC failure impacts safety and comfort, then authorize immediate repair up to such and such amount. Let Bob know, let Jan know, hey, if this is what's going on, take care of it. So long as we don't go over X amount of dollars, I'm going to give that to you. You know what? That removes the bottleneck. That means Jan and Bob can keep moving and they don't have to wait. We're being reactive, and it also allows you to have that time to continue to stay focused and be the leader, because you can't be the chief cook and the bottle washer at the same time.
Yeah, I'll give an example also in proposals. So in my business, we send out proposals, and according to the dollar threshold is the level that requires, level of leadership that has to approve it. So if it's, this threshold, the actual seller can go ahead and submit it without any approvals. And then it comes to the director level, and then it has to go to AVP. And that's documented somewhere, right? So put it in a place that is clear for everyone to see what those thresholds are, and it helps with efficiency.
Absolutely. A clear SOP is helpful.
Yep.
I'll give you another decision-making tree that might help. If the issue is not urgent and it's going to be under X, then schedule for the next maintenance cycle. Like, it doesn't have to be handled right now. It's not urgent, but it can wait 6 months. And it's going to be a cost under X amount of dollars. It doesn't need the attention right now. Again, we're trying to make sure that we're managing our urgent needs and our strategic planning. If it exceeds the budget authority, yes, as Tasha pointed out, you got to that's when it needs to come to you. If it's over, I'm just going to say a number, $1 million, certainly you want to know about it. Certainly you want to be involved. That's just a generic number. But what we're trying to say here ultimately is that remove the hesitation. And then I'm going to tell you what's also important: to delegate effectively. Decide who can handle the things with confidence. Don't do it just based on someone's job title. So for example, if something is going to have full ownership, identify that staff person and just say, hey, so-and-so, you're going to have full ownership over this area. This is all you. I'm not coming to all the meetings. I don't need all the updates. I may be an occasional update, maybe a quarterly update, maybe a monthly, but this is all you. But these should be routine tasks. Now, another level of delegation is going to be recommend and approve. That's going to be a staff has a suggestion, they should take it to a manager. Doesn't have to come to you. They can go to maybe a mid-level manager. These are medium stakes things. Let them figure it out. Let them work it out. They can come to you with an idea and or a solution. That's when you can get involved. But if the work has already been done. And then there's inform only. Manager is updated at the time the action is taken. These are low stakes. We cut the grass today. I'm speaking on a 5th grade level because you all are the professional, but you all understand what is a low stakes thing that you just don't have to be about. Again, you can be updated in the monthly report or someone can tell you in the quarterly meeting, but you don't need to be involved in everything. And again, I'm going to go back to something I said. Delegate based on the competence and not on the title. That's the reality. You need to make sure your team is going to perform well. And sometimes the person, I'm going to give an example. I also work in communications. My background is communications. In times of a crisis, I might have someone who's a subject matter expert, but they're terrible in interviews. They know everything there is to know, A to Z, but if they were to get on the camera and talk, they'd be terrible. We need to delegate
another crisis,
especially in a crisis.
right?
Right. So they delegate that to who? To me. What I'm going to have them do, I'm going to have them tell me everything I need to understand about this topic. I'm going to say, talk to me like I'm a 5th grader, because maybe you're some astrophysicist and this is what you eat, leave, and breathe. But I'm going to deliver it on camera where it's relatable, it's accessible, it's understandable in a pleasant way that doesn't overwhelm. And it doesn't get caught up in too much jargon. So again, it's just an example, but I want you to look at your teams and say, okay, I get you have the job title, but are you the most competent person to do that?
Yeah, creating these efficiencies gives us the time and space to really look at how we're impacting the organization. And so we're going to talk about how we connect things that we do on a daily basis to the organization and how it impacts. What we do is not just keeping the lights on, right? It's about how our decisions connect to the broader mission, and we have to become storytellers, right? Once you're in leadership, it really is a balance between the operational work that has to be done as well as the story that you're able to share. So whether the mission is safety or productivity, sustainability, or even user experience, facilities plays a critical role in achieving that goal. And we just have to know how to tell the story to let everyone else know how critical facilities management is. So every operational decision that's made has a ripple effect. The decision about preventive maintenance impacts safety and compliance, right? A decision that is made about space design impacts employee productivity. So if that's important to your organization, what we're doing makes a difference. Every decision about energy efficiency impacts our sustainability goals. So it's important to know what's important and what's the mission of the organization so that we can connect it and frame our day-to-day choices in terms of how they support the mission.
Yeah.
So let's take a quick look and just do a quick exercise. So think of one operational choice that you've made recently or one that you're considering, and we're going to draft an impact statement. So we lost your screen, Sharon. You're not sharing your screen anymore.
Really?
Mm-mm.
Sharon, it's Kylie. Let me, do you still have the capability of sharing your screen? Do you still see the button that says you can share it?
Sure. Let me come out. I have
Okay.
not. Let me see what's happened. Okay.
You may have pressed the escape button. It happens.
I'm going to share that screen again. Hold on one second. Now, do y'all
Okay.
see that? Do y'all
I
see my
see the
screen?
trees. Yes,
Okay,
we
all
see.
right. Listen, if you see the trees and we're halfway there, how about there? You see my screen?
Not yet.
Still,
Oh, there we
now
go.
we do.
There
Good
we
job.
go.
Okay.
All right. So think about an operational choice that you've made recently, and we're going to draft an impact statement. We're going to become storytellers. So look, when the facilities, so what's the action that you're taking? Maybe you're implementing a different maintenance schedule to reduce emergency calls, right? That's how we connect it. So you have to think about what the thing is that you're doing, what's going to be the impact, and then we talk about how we measure it. So what is the thing? The thing is maybe I'm implementing preventive maintenance, right? What is the connection? How I'm connecting that to the number of emergency calls that we get, because that's really annoying. People don't want to have to make these emergency calls. And then what's the measure? So if you're no longer making emergency calls, there's less disruption to organizations and things that are going on. And so we can put the example statement up. So implementing the preventive HVAC maintenance reduced emergency calls by 40%, right? We want to have that measure, that number means something, and eliminated classroom disruptions. It saved us $25,000 annual savings. And so when you have that time scheduled on your calendar, you're able to really look at what the impact is and quantify it. Leadership typically wants to see numbers, right? Numbers make a difference. And a 40% reduction in emergency calls could be, going from 10 to 4. Doesn't matter what the numbers are, but the impact that you're making really is what you want to show. And you have to quantify your impact, because that's really what's going to get the attention of leadership. So that 40%, you're saving $25,000 a year because you are being more proactive about the maintenance, and you're not spending so much money fighting fires.
So I'm just going to add on to what Tasha said, is that consider this: while you are the world's most dynamic and fabulous facility managers, you're also in marketing, right? You are the brand ambassador for your team. And this is how you become and you create your brand, and you're creating a strong brand. Your audience are the leaders of the organization, your customer, and what they need to know. Not only are you saving the money and that you're being effective, but you are really about their mission, and they see you as a valuable partner. That is where we all want to be in this conversation and scenario. Give an example. No one here, but maybe you've had problems in your building before because the IT just never works right in that office. No matter what you do, and you call IT 4 and 5 times, and then how long does it take before people say, IT is never on their job? IT can be doing a fantastic job, but maybe they're not fairly telling the story of what's happening in that and how they're trying to resolve it. So this framework just sort of helps you tell the story, further your brand, strengthen your position, and become true partners in the organization, and not just the cost center.
And the person that tells the story is telling the truth, right?
Yes.
So if Sharon is complaining all the time, her story is the truth.
Yeah.
But if I'm the manager and I'm touting and letting leadership know that I'm implementing these plans, it's saving us money, this is our return on investment, we're reducing this and increasing that, all the things, then my story is also true, right? And there's going to be doubt really to all the complaints, because what I'm showing is that things are going well. And so simple. You don't have to be a writer or a master communicator like Sharon. It's a simple framework right here. What action are you taking, right? How is it connected to what the mission of the organization is? Are they interested in sustainability? Are they interested in cost savings? Are they interested in, you know, employee productivity? So how is that action that you're taking connected to the mission? And then measure the quantifiable benefits.
So
1.3.
As accountability coaches, what Tasha and I do when we work together with our organizations, our groups, our teams, our individuals, is we have them, we help them create a plan. So there's an action plan that is based on their life, their schedule, their responsibilities, so they can get to the end point. They are here and they're trying to get here. And so we want to kind of give you an action plan on how you might work a plan for yourself. Maybe there's a colleague here that you want to hold each other accountable. You can work with each other. You can always reach out to Tasha and I. But here's kind of how a plan might look. Okay. So in our first quadrant, we're going to start off what we do for the week. Okay. And I'm even going to tell you that Tasha and I use this in our personal lives together. We are accountability partners to one another. And we will set out 10-year goals, and then we'll back it out by the year, by the month, by the week. And that's what we're going to do. So, because knowledge and good intentions means nothing if you don't have actions. What did your mother say, Tasha?
My mom says the road to hell is paved with good intentions.
Absolutely.
But that's not where you want to be.
It's not where you want to be. So, but here's what you can implement. So this week, here's what I'm going to challenge you to do. Audit your time using the Eisenhower matrix, right? Identify one urgent process you can delegate or streamline. There's got to be one. I'm sure there's at least one you can do. And then, as Tasha say, block out 2 important hours. That is for important but not urgent work.
And it doesn't have to be 2 hours in the same day. It could be in the week. You can get 2 hours in the week. An hour here, an hour there, 30 minutes here. Yeah.
I like to block off Thursday afternoon, because inevitably something's going to happen. But if I've got the whole afternoon blocked off, I can at least get 2 hours out of that. So just something to consider. All right, now for the month, here's what we're going to look at. We want you to develop a decision criteria for common scenarios. We went through that decision tree. Launch a small innovation you've identified. Get with your team. I'm sure you have some brilliant people on your team. Sometimes the folks who are on the first line, they can see things, they can find things, they have better ideas. And listen, everyone comes to the table and they're a part of the process, and look at some new ideas, but come up with a small innovation. And then create your first impact statement for leadership, right? Go through that process that Tasha just went with you, and start putting that how you're really a partner to this, to the mission of the organization, and let them know they can't do it without you. And then by the end of the quarter, where you want to be is implementing a preventive maintenance schedule. This is just an idea of what you could be doing, okay? Train team on delegation frameworks, because hopefully by now, maybe you thought about how you can delegate and streamline some of this decision making. And now you can train your team on how that's going to look and what that's going to look like. But make sure they are part of the process. You want them to be a part of the process. And then present a strategic facilities value to the stakeholders. Again, you are not just a facilities manager anymore. You are in marketing. You are a brand ambassador for the facilities team.
We all got a new role today: storytellers, brand ambassadors. So let's just bring it full circle. We talked about urgency, importance, the power of possibility, thinking. But what will you do differently with this information? Your future starts today. It doesn't start 6 months from now, or even next week. You have to make the decision today to do something different. So 2 takeaways. On top of your plan, your 1 week, 1 month, quarter plan, I'd like you to think about 2 takeaways. What is one urgent fix that you'll handle differently after today's session? So maybe it's how you triage emergencies, Maybe it's how you delegate. Maybe it's how you use your time in the schedule block. What's something that you're going to do differently today? And then what's one important innovation? We talked about this a few slides back. I said, hold on to it. We're going to come back to it. One thing that you really want to implement. So what's one important innovation that you're committed to exploring? This could be something preventative. It could be something related to AI, emerging technology, or it could just be a small creative idea that you haven't implemented yet. You've just been putting it off because you've been too busy. So jot those two things down. And it's important to write things down to get them out of your brain, right? Writing matters. Sharon and I talk about this all the time. It's either tactile, writing in journals, or even typing it out, but getting it out of your brain is really helpful. Two things happen. It becomes real once it comes out of you, and then when you have the accountability partner, you have someone to help you make sure you get it done. But this is where change happens. Even one small shift can make a difference, right? What is it? If we change 1% a day by the end of the year, like we've made like massive change.
Yeah.
So watch how the ripple effects happen and how what you do, the changes that you make, also will transform your team. Your future starts today, and protect what's important, manage what's urgent,
Yeah,
and lean into the possibilities. Let's make it happen.
all right. Now it's time for our post question. Kylie, get ready for the poll.
So after today's session, how confident do you feel about balancing immediate facilities needs with future opportunities? Have we given you any tools that you feel like you can implement going forward that are going to make you a little more efficient? Wish we had some Jeopardy music. Results are coming in. All right. Let's go. All right. When we started, we were 30, 30, 30. And so we're now at 13%, 50% that they're getting there. They've got some tools for balancing the urgencies.
Okay.
And then 38%, I've got a stronger footing. I feel more proactive and less reactive. That's excellent.
Excellent. Well, it has been our absolute pleasure to spend this time with you today. We are Sharon and Tasha, the AQ partners. Let's stay connected. I'm going to tell you, I've been so intrigued in learning all about what you all do. And yes, as I was going through and I've been preparing for this, I'm like, oh, I got to change my filters. So it's been a pleasure. We'd like to connect with you. If you want to scan the QR code, you'll see our LinkedIn profile. We send out regular newsletters. We host webinars ourselves. If you'd like to chat with us, you can scan that QR code on the right and set up a time to meet with us. We'd love to just take 15 minutes, chat. Maybe there's additional questions that you have for us. We're happy to answer. And always our website, theaqpartners.com.
Thank you so much for your time this afternoon. Thanks for listening. And we'll pass it back over to Dexter if we have any questions that came up in the chat today.
Well, I don't see any questions. Oh, well, do we have any questions, Kylie?
Not that I see, not in the chat.
Well, then I'd like to take the time to thank you. My takeaway is that matrix that you shared in the beginning, and finding some time to figure out, well, of course, and I'm sure other people who have a similar role to me, you start thinking about how you can be strategic about your time, right? With, always things coming at you, always at this, all at the same speed at the same time, right? And then, it's a good way of not getting anything done if you're trying to hit all those back at the same time. So strategy with time is really important, right? Knowing what's important, what to spend your time on, and how to spend your time is really important. So it makes us all really great at our roles. So thank you for sharing your time with us. This kind of information I never tire of. I'm always trying to recreate myself and better how I do what I do. So thank you very much. Thank you for sharing this information with us, and we look forward to having you engage with us more. So we do have someone that just raised their hand there, Kylie.
Let's see, Davita Dean. Okay, Davita, I will send you an unmute request if that's why you raised your hand. So you can ask your question.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, Danita.
Hi, Anita.
Or it could have been an accident.
Oh, no, I was muted on my end and it
Oh,
wasn't an
you're okay.
accident.
There
Okay.
you go.
And I actually don't have a question. Loved your guys' content. It was just a real quick comment because I scanned your codes and they're swapped on the screen. So your calendar is your LinkedIn QR code and your chat with us is your LinkedIn QR code. So they're swapped. I just
Listen, we
scanned
wanted to
them.
make sure you were on your toes. Okay.
Totally.
We wanted to see who was going to scan. And
I
guess what?
You passed
did
the
it.
test, Davita.
That's the test.
So I was 20 years an executive assistant before I did my 10 years as a facilities manager. So I have that little attention to detail quirk.
Uh-huh.
That's funny.
So everybody,
Thank
for the LinkedIn, it's the chat with us, and for the calendar, it's the LinkedIn. Just swap them.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Davita.
you, Davida. Take care.
And thank you. Your content was wonderful.
Thank you.
If there are no other questions, then I would love to ask everybody, did you like this? Have you been to other Wednesday webinars? Did you enjoy them? And if your answer is yes, which I have a feeling it was, especially if you came here, then guess what? We have more content for you from IFMA CFC coming just next week. So we typically do one webinar every month, our Wednesday webinar on the first Wednesday, but the month of October is special. We have a special benefit of the month that is an IFMA webinar, but also it is being put on and hosted by IFMA CFC. It is going to have Larry Morgan as our speaker, and it is called Facilities Management, the True Value Proposition, not what we do, but why and how we deliver. This is taking place a week from tomorrow, so next Thursday. And I have just dropped the registration link in the chat. So if you liked this content, if you like our other Wednesday webinars, then you get one extra one next week. So I hope you come and join us.
Okay, we'd like to thank everyone for coming out today, especially, of course, our special guests, Tasha and Sharon. Thank you very much for your time, and we look forward to the next time we get to engage. So have a wonderful rest of your week, everyone, and I'll see you at the next Wednesday webinar. All right, take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies.
Bye.
Thank you, Dexter. Thank you, everybody.
You're welcome.